Travis Wingetzel. Alright, so on 9/11, that Tuesday morning, as I was at work for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in their warehouse distribution center in the returns department, Dick Ballard, our supervisor, came wheeling in the TV and turned it on to the news as no work that day. We watched to witness the report that the one building had been hit, and were able to see live the hitting of the second plane on the second building. And then when it was clear that it was done for the day, we were all told to go home. I watched the news thereafter, and they were reporting how there were several people who felt that they were going to call in sick on that Tuesday morning and didn't go in. I lost Peter Paulino, whom I knew in the Bronx branch in my New York mission. He worked there in the building, and before I went home, he took me to his office and exchanged my coins that I had collected over the 2 years, finding them lying around on the streets, and exchanged them for traveler's checks so that I wouldn't have a hassle at the airport coming back. And it was a fateful day of first responders who did not wear the proper protection gear and thus got sick from the poisonous dust, as others that got the fallout also got sick from the dust. Over 3,000 died with just those two buildings, and that other building too, wasn't it? Building 7, I think they called it. And as we look at the Book of Mormon, Mormons don't believe it is a warning of the latter days. They just are in denial and get extremely angry and violent when you tell them it's something other than literal history. I've even tried telling Mormons that I found the Egyptian documents from the Book of Mormon talked about in Neum. 1 Nephi chapter 19, verse 10. I found them. Mormons don't care. I've done the videos. And so as we're in the final year, as I've been escalating the warning message, which by escalating the message, Mormons are more inclined to resist and put up their Zion curtain, their Zion wall, and harden their hearts and not believe, and attack me instead. Even though I had the bombshell, which is doing well, the animosity of Mormons. But YouTube is on high alert to silence my videos. The video about the CES male leaders telling little girls what to wear and then blaming Jesus for it, that is supposed to be a 1 million view video, at least. It's set up perfectly. And yet, as I watched, as it took off immediately, YouTube put on the brakes with their algorithm. And so, yeah, it's now a crap video, which should have been a multi-million view video. This is the attack on you, not me. I am doing my part to warn you. It is YouTube. It is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is you who are trying to silence me, refusing to let me save your life by you simply hearkening. And so the Book of Mormon has Exodus scenarios. There are several different kinds, and I did a whole video series some years back going over them in great detail. So we'll just summarize them here. The first one is where the Christ, Jesus, the human. See, Christ means king, which means the books of kings. Yeah, the books of Christs. See how Christianity has screwed everything up? And so you're king. Does that make it better for you? You're true king. You're true president of the church. Because Joseph Smith was. Not Brigham Young. Not authorized. So thus not Nelson. Section 107.91. The man like Moses. The Jewish Christ. He leaves early. This isn't fleeing the Mormons. He's leaving because the Mormons refuse to hearken to him. He's leaving because destruction is coming, and Mormons, instead of hearkening to him and going with him, choose to stay behind and die. We see that throughout the Book of Mormon, with Lehi, with Nephi, with his brothers, and Alma, priest of King Noah. He was sneaking out to the waters of Mormon, and then they found out that the king had found out about him and had ordered their execution. So they fled, and then were caught by the priests after the destruction. That's the other scenario. And it's in the Bible. The Sodom, the warning messengers come to Abraham, says, hey, we're going to destroy Sodom. Sodom's going to be destroyed. And then they go to Lot. Sodom's going to be destroyed. And so he leaves before it happens. But his wife longed to go back. And because it hadn't happened yet, she went back and thus got destroyed with the rest of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then there's other examples as well as you go through the Bible with that insight, or shall I say, key to decipherment, from Joseph Smith. And the other one is where, like I said, Limhi and Mulek and 3rd Nephi 8 through 10. They don't really say that they fled, other than it's understood. Because there's a group that, after the destruction, are all of a sudden in Zion. And this is where the people refuse to hearken. They stay behind. And the Christ is there with them. But they survive. And yes, there's lots of death, but these are the survivors. And I kind of like this one because the Christ survives to go with them. Because Nephi, he's in Bountiful. He was in Zarahemla. He has his home there in Zarahemla, in Salt Lake City. And yet, he's there in Bountiful. And not Bountiful on the hill where Nelson and Irene live. Zion, Southern Illinois. And so I've done the videos talking to you about how are Mormons going to know to go to Southern Illinois, because they're going to want to go to Missouri, which is the trap, which has me concerned that Kansas City might be a target because it's right next door to Independence. And so that may be one of the targets. And if it's nuclear, that's going to be more devastating because the radiation will reach beyond the radius of the destruction. And that's the more cruel, torturous death, as those who get exposed to the radiation only have, 2 weeks until they experience a gruesome, horrifying death. And so if you survive the blast, if you were exposed to the radiation, you're going to wish you died in the blast. But it's going to be a situation of finally listening to their Christ, who is telling them along the way about how it all happened and what went wrong. Why did the church fall? I don't understand. I thought it was the true church. Well, you see, back on 9/11/1826, you mean you were telling us the truth? Yeah. Didn't you catch on when I'm a translator and Nelson's not? Wasn't that your big clue? And so then the third one, utter destruction, where only the Christ survives, and Korihor. Or not Korihor, Coriantumr. And this is the living in a cave for the rest of his life, all alone, no woman, no human beings. This is the Will Smith left behind in New York to try to find a cure for the zombie virus. So, yeah, Section 101 tells you exactly what to watch for. The prophets will flee. And I'm willing to bet only the top 6, 7, 8, 9. Because the lower 6, as it's come to understand, are the probies. Watching NCIS? The probies in the apostles. And so they have to survive longer than the ones above them who would die off, and then they move up in rank to be the president, to then take over the church upon the death of the president of the church. And so they have to be in rank high enough in order to be privy to all of the secret combinations that they're doing. But Joseph Smith tells us that the prophets are going to flee. And so with knowing of the destruction that's coming, because they paid for it with your tithing money, they know the date. And like I told you, pay attention. Because their meetings are on Thursdays. So they had one yesterday. They'll have one next Thursday. They'll have one the next Thursday after that. And that will be the one, right? Because next Thursday is the 31st. And so it'd be the 7th, 8th. Yeah, the 8th. Right? Because the 1st is Friday. So it would be the 8th for Thursday. It doesn't sound right. It should be the 7th. So confusing with 31 days in a month. Can't they just even them all out? Do 30 days, 10 days in a week, so 3 weeks in a month, and then just add the extra accordingly at the end. Not complicated. Who did this? What? Some pope? Pope Gregory. But actually it goes back to, well, with Julian, there's some differences there, but still the same. Those Babylonians who started it with the 7-day week. Because 7's a bad luck day. And so, yeah, I told you, if you're going to church, because you're not listening to me, pay attention. If the prophets or the prophets' families don't show up to church on the 10th, you know you need to get the hell out of Utah quick. But like I said, I'm willing to bet they'll sacrifice the lower rung guys. Because they did for COVID, didn't they? Except for Holland. Oops. He thought he got away with it, and then gotcha. Take that for saying that porn is equal to COVID. And so I'm still watching. If he dies on the 3rd of September, all of you need to wet yourself, because God just warned you again. So, it'll have nothing to do with me. You know, the prophets can tamper with it now after hearing this video. But if God wants him dead on the 3rd, they'll make it happen. He'll make it happen. So if the prophets want to ruin that, they need to take care of him before then. It has to do with God's signs in the heavens with events on the earth. Hales died 8 days after the two signs in the heavens with the solar eclipse and the Revelation 12 sign of the start of the latter days, the start of the ministry of the Christ, whom you're supposed to hearken to. And so here we have before the destruction, which is what the warning message was all about. You have the third. And then 33 days later, just as 33 days earlier was the solar eclipse, 33 days after is the 14 October solar eclipse, which is over Utah, which comes from Samson. So, yeah, I'm watching for God on that one, for that pattern. And so, yeah, I would love it if there would be those who hearken and who will now listen and start preparing to leave on the 10th. Yeah, I know. Make sure you don't travel on Sunday, which is actually Saturday. It's from Matthew 24. And it's going to suck if you're pregnant. What else did he have in here? The abomination of desolation. Utah needs to flee into the mountains. And if it's a nuke, that won't do you any good. Just, you'll have to keep going. Let's see. The holy place, that's the temple. That's Zion. It's not your stake center. That's a trap. Oaks laid a trap for you. I did the videos lately. It's awesome. I don't want it to happen. I've got a whole thing ready to go for Oaks. He's far more exciting than Nelson, who's just showing that he's dumb. Oaks, he's abusive. He's more fun. And so if you're on your housetop, don't come down. That has to do with the housing design in Jerusalem. So obviously it doesn't apply to us here in America. And if you're in the field, you just take off. Don't go back home to get your clothes. Just stay naked. And so here's the pregnancy one. And pray that it's not in winter. So that's the thing, is that the enemy who's going to cause this, they knew about this, but they purposely planned the date for 9/11. For 200 years now, they've known about 9/11, plotting it. And so, yes, some of these things we don't have to worry about. Unless it's nukes, then we have nuclear winter. And so neither on the Sabbath day. And the Sabbath, that's because of the Jews, the Pharisees. They created extra laws to make sure you don't violate the Sabbath day by working on the Babylonian holy day of superstition and paranoia. And so they decided to force everybody's agency not to take too many steps beyond what they say on the Sabbath. And if you go beyond, just one step beyond, you're in violation of the Sabbath. And so thus, you need to pray it's not on the Sabbath day. But that's not an issue. You can go on the Sabbath on the 10th. You can go earlier, but like I said, there's going to be other places in the United States that are targets. And because we don't know yet, it's best to follow the Book of Mormon's example and warning for us. For then shall be a great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So, alrighty, so yeah, if you guys want to come pick me up on that Sunday, I've got stuff that needs to be carried. So it'd be nice if you had a small moving truck, or a longer one if you're taking your stuff too. But, as experience has shown, the majority of Mormons don't believe, don't want to hearken. So reach out, get your families. If you're living outside of Utah and you're not in a place that could be a target, come and get them. Take them to your place. Call in sick to work for as long as it takes. Take your vacation days, whatever. Just stay out of the area. And then when it happens, stay away from Missouri.